Hello everybody, I'm John. Welcome back to the Midnight Paint and Body YouTube channel. In this video we're going to tackle another set of wheel arch repair panels, but we're going to do them a little differently. We're going to glue these ones. So yes, you heard me right. I have done 7 million videos on doing wheel arches. Okay, maybe not quite that many. I've done a couple. And in an effort to not keep doing the same thing over and over, I figured we're going to do one with structural adhesive. It's pretty common these days. Most guys, or a lot of guys use it. Some guys use it a lot. I use it sparingly. I feel it has its place. But I figure we'll give her a shot on this one. Now, this truck is a 2013 GMC half-ton with a 6.6 bed. And unfortunately, I ordered the wrong wheel arches. So these are... Oh, let me see. These ones are 07 to 12. And I think these must be for the wrong size bed, because these are just the wrong ones. So, my mistake. So you can see, these are a completely different wheel opening. So, I should have the correct ones tomorrow. Luckily, I get most of this stuff overnight. I am in kind of north central British Columbia. All my parts come out of LKQ, Pitt Meadows, which is down the lower mainland. So if it's in stock, I usually get it overnight. So it won't throw me off too badly. Just a pain in the butt when I'm ready to go on something. But we are doing a little other work on this truck. So I have things I can do. The rockers are looking a little nasty, but we're just going to see if we can get away with just sandblasting and treating these ones. The other side doesn't look too bad. This side looks like it might have some issues, but you know, the customer just wants to get a little more life out of this truck. We're not doing a restoration on it. And you know, he doesn't want to put another $5,000 worth of rockers and cab corners on it, because, you know, that's a lot of bread. So we'll see what we can do to make it last. So I'm going to kind of get set up, do a little tear down. We'll take this out, maybe just sandblast the bottom and get that out of the way. I'll do what I can on it for the day until I get my panels tomorrow. Hopefully I can get this sandblasted before the rain comes in. Looks like we got some coming. So give you a little better look at what we have under here. So I've pulled out all the plastic plugs. And so we'll blast all of this. It's pretty thick, so it's going to take some work. But yeah, let's start cleaning this up and see what we have to work with. Alright, so there's one side blasted. We've definitely got some holes. But I think all we're going to do on this one is a little fiberglass filler and smooth it out. And then when we're done, we're going to treat the hell out of the inside. Definitely not the right way to do it, but it's the right way to do it on a budget to get a few more years out of this thing. So we'll get the other side done and we'll go from there. So I've got our rockers all sandblasted just in time. It actually downpoured out there. Now the sun's shining again, so that's good. So I've been sanding for a bit. So when I sandblasted the rockers, I put some duct tape along the bottom of the doors. When I pulled that tape off, it actually is exposed everywhere. There was these little rust blisters. So it's peeled all the paint off them. The front door was really bad. It was front to back like this. So I decided I'm just going to paint the bottom of the doors for him. Actually, the owner of this truck is an old friend, so I don't mind kicking in a little extra. He's definitely helped me out in the past. So, but that just brings me to orbital sanders. Now, this sander here, this is an orbital sander. And by orbital, the sanding pad spins, but it also does an orbital motion while it spins. This one is a finishing sander. This is an old Hutchins Pro Finisher. I've had that many, many years. Now this style is what I consider to be what most people refer to these as a DA, a dual action sander. This is more for stripping and heavy sanding. And I'm going to show you why this is a DA, why it's dual action. So if you're stripping, see, that can be kind of slow going. This is 100 grit on here. But now most of these style sanders, some have a little lock plate. This one, see this weight right there? You turn that weight a half a turn and it locks that in. So now it is doing the orbital action, but not spinning. Let me put my earmuffs on. And now watch the difference for when you're stripping like this. How much faster that strips. Now I'll go back to the orbital action. It's still locked in. To feather it out. So, just a little tip if you're not real familiar with these tools. You need one of these for finishing. Sometimes I'll sand my primer with the sander when I've finished blocking, or even if you're just sanding a panel with good paint to be painted, you need to use a sander like that. If you sand it with one of these don't sand real even. You can definitely get a ripply finish. So, before a primer for sure. Well, it's the next day here, guys. I just got my freight. So we are ready to proceed with our rust repair panels. So these, I can give you the part numbers now that I have the correct ones. RRP 996, so that's a rust repair panel 996 is the left side. Right side will be a 997. So as you can see, these are the correct panels. Now, I say it all the time, guys, with these kind of panels, they always give you more than you need. The idea with these is to trim what you need out of them. I have never gone this high on one of these style. I always keep them below that body line, personally, just the way I do them. Especially when you're welding them, you keep it below there. That body line gives you some strength to avoid warpage. In this case, we are going to be using structural adhesive, so we're not going to be welding, but still, I'm going to keep below that line. So yeah, first thing I am going to do with this is actually trim our new panel to kind of get what we want of it, and then we'll fit it to the truck, and then we'll start trimming out the metal from the truck itself. So I've got my panel trimmed back to where I like it, how I like to do these. So one thing to remember, again, just the way I do it, always round off your corners. Anytime you leave a sharp corner on these things, they tend to really show up, especially with welding. Maybe with glue it wouldn't be such a big deal, but so I'm just gonna loosely clamp this guy in place. Now that sucks. I've run into this on these before. This one is rotten farther than my new panel goes, so we're gonna have to make another piece down here. But that's okay. Let's start with this. So, with our panel clamped in place, I am just going to trace it out with a pencil. And that's going to give us an idea where to cut. Now we don't want to cut on that line because we're not butt matching this metal. I'll probably cut down about there because we want to leave about 3/4 of an inch of metal to glue. So there we are. So there's what's going on our inside of our panel. So I'm going to start cleaning this all up and get ready for the new one. So I've gone ahead and just wire brushed and painted the inner panel just with some Krylon rust preventative paint, just with a brush. So while that cures up, I'm going to go around to the other side and start cutting it apart. And I'm going to bring you back when we're ready to start using some structural adhesive. So before we cut out this side, I'm going to go down to the engine shop portion of my shop. Got a body shop with a bunch of oily engines laying everywhere. This one. So this side doesn't look too bad, but I figured I would just show you guys. So you can see the paint is all bubbled. Well, you might not even see that in the camera. So it's got bubbles everywhere. They're not even broken through. Like this side still looks decent. But I'll cut this out and show you guys what's going on the inside. And yes, I need to clean this up one day. That's my spare Pontiac 400. That's a 327 out of my El Camino. Transmission out of my El Camino. It's a spare Turbo 350 Pontiac. This Ford Y block, something or other. There's another Pontiac 400. That's a blown up 2.4 that came out of my wife's Equinox when we put a new motor in it. Why do I still have that? I have no idea. Why do I have most of this junk? I have no idea. Anyway, here's a tour of my engines. Let's cut this thing apart. So there's what causes all these problems in these trucks. As you can see, this stuff is wet. When it stays wet, it rusts your truck out. They're all the same. That's what causes it. It's the dirt. I've heard all kinds of theories about why these rust. It's just the dirt that sits in there, guys. It stays wet, makes them rot. I know you've probably heard this a million times if you watch my videos, but the only thing I've found that's kind of effective, pull your taillights out once a year, shoot straight through with a pressure washer, and try and clean all that shit out. And then when it's dry, spray some oil or something in there to penetrate everything. So, they all do it, no matter what brand. I mean, we're all, brand loyal. I want to say this one's better than that one, but man, they all do it the same. So anyway, I'm going to continue this one. I'll clean up this inner, get some paint on it like I did the other side, and start getting everything prepped up for glue. And I forgot to point out too, so our panel that still looked good on the outside, there's what's going on the inside. So I say this all the time too, but it is never just surface rust. And no matter what you do on the outside, it's the inside you need to worry about if you're trying to keep these things from rusting. So yeah, this old truck's actually pretty rusty. So there you are. All right, so we are about ready to glue our panels. So probably a good time for my usual disclaimer, guys. I am just sharing what works for me, the little bit of knowledge I have with this stuff. There's probably guys that use it a lot more these days than what I do. Now, the first time I ever did training on panel bonding adhesives, it was probably 30 years ago, working in a collision shop. Now, what I do remember from that first time we ever used it, or we did a demo, we sandwiched a couple pieces of metal, prepped them properly, clamped them properly, left them overnight, and then we hooked them up in the frame machine and pulled until the metal ripped, which actually the metal ripped around the glue. The glue seam, or the glue connection, didn't actually break. I have used it a bit, and I have taken more up-to-date training since back then in different roles I've had in this industry. But, so the one thing, well, I'll tell you what I know. You need metal on metal. You need a cleaned off surface with a nice tooth in it. Now, I've just used a 36 grit disc on a little mini grinder. I have cleaned up all the perimeter on the truck as well as the panels. So you want to coat all your bare metal with glue. You don't want any bare metal showing because that will help with corrosion resistance. I will be coating the inside of these panels with paint as well after. And the other thing is that structural adhesive requires compression to work properly. So it is supposed to be clamped. So it's got to be clamped tight. You can't just stick it together and expect it to work like it's supposed to. Obviously, the problem with doing rust repair panels, you can't clamp these all the way around. I've seen it done a few different ways. Some guys I used to work with would always just use self-tapping screws all in place. The next day when it was all cured, they'd take them out and fill those holes with glue. I always found that those tend to show up with expansion, contraction, hot days, cold days. So I'm going to show you the way I do them. Again, it's just the way I do them. It's what works for me. It's not necessarily always the right way. I'm not the expert. I'm just a dude that does body work. So I think we'll start with this side. I've got this one all ready to go. First off, I've had 2 self-tappers in there, so that is going to align our panel perfectly to where I want it. So let's go mix up some glue. I'll show you what we're using and how I do it. Okay, so what we're using is a 3M 08115 panel bonding adhesive. There are other brands, Fuser to name one, or I'm sure there's several others. This is just what my parts store carries, so this is the one I typically use. Now this stuff, it's 2 parts. So you would take out that guy, put in one of these mixing tubes, and then you would put this in your applicator gun, which squeezes the 2 parts evenly through this mixing tube. It's a series of chambers, and that actually mixes the material. When it comes out, it's completely mixed, it's ready to go. One of those applicator guns, I think it's around 150 bucks. I don't own one. I don't use this stuff enough to justify buying one, to be honest. I don't know if you noticed, but this isn't a real high buck operation around here. So I'm going to show you the way I do it. I got a couple of sockets that fit in there. I just squeeze out equal parts on a mixing board, mix it up like body filler, and it's just fine. So I've done it this way many times. And it doesn't squeeze out easily, by the way. And the reason I use sockets, if you just try and push in the middle, those plungers will go cockeyed, and then your tube is garbage. And incidentally, a tube of this stuff is around 100 bucks, so it's not cheap. Okay, so we've got a bead of glue on both sides. Now the reason I do a couple of alignment holes that way for sure have it in the right spot. So now, like I said, this all needs to be clamped tight. So I'm going to go glue on the other side real quick, and I'll show you how we're going to achieve that. Alright, so now just on to the portion of, this is just how I do it. Let me know if you got a better idea. I've done this with good success before, guys. This has never been a problem. So I've drilled a series of holes. I take an 1/8 inch rivet and coat that sucker in glue. Come on, get on there. And that's how I do them. So those rivets, because I have coated the back side with a whole bunch of glue, once that squishes over in the back side of the panel, it should create a good seal. Now, once this is all cured up tomorrow, we'll grind the heads off of those, and we'll move on to body filler. And I always coat the hell out of the back side of these panels when I'm done as well, once everything is finished. So again, just my way. I'm going to continue on, put a few more rivets in here. I'll pull those screws out and put rivets in those holes. I'll go do the other side, and then we have to wait until tomorrow because this stuff takes about 8 hours to cure. Well, it's the next day, and our structural adhesive is ready to prep up for a little body filler. So let's grind that off, smooth it out. Well, we've got our panel all cleaned up, so now just a coat of Duraglass filler over the seams. And you want to really smash it in there. Well, it's actually the end of the day here, guys, but as you can see, I've got the truck masked up in the booth. I didn't film much of the, I guess, prep work to get it to the stage ready for primer. But it's kind of the thing with drying times in this trade. You know, I'm probably going to be out here till, I don't know, 6, 7 o'clock getting this primed. But if I wait until tomorrow to prime it, then it'll be sitting until Monday before I can work on it again. So if I get it primed tonight, then I can get blocking on it tomorrow. So that's my plan. So there's 3 coats of high build urethane primer on top of the first 1 coat of epoxy primer. Now I've got the gun loaded up just with some black Krylon rust prevention paint. So I'm just going to kind of crawl underneath, spray all up inside the bedside the best I can, coat all that new panel. Well, good morning, everybody. I am back. Happy Friday. Yes, it's already Friday because I didn't start on this job until Tuesday because it was a stupid long weekend last weekend. And they always screw me up. Anyway, so yesterday we got this in primer, so I kind of rushed through all of that because this video is more about using the structural adhesive than all the other steps. So yeah, a coat of epoxy primer, 3 coats of high build urethane primer, and then I've coated everything in some black, I just used Krylon rust paint. I got up underneath the box and sprayed all up inside here the best I possibly could. So, and then of course through the taillight holes in that way the best I could. So, hopefully everything is coated on the inside here. Primed the bottom of our doors and rockers as well. So I'm going to move on to prepping. I am not going to film that part. I'm just going to get this thing prepped up. Might get it painted today, but probably not. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, again, not going to record the prepping because, you know, like I said, this video was more about the panel bond adhesive than anything else. But I will bring you back when I'm ready to put this back in the booth and get her painted. well, it's been a couple hours, so figured we could sneak in and have a look and see how our bedsides turned out. Looks pretty darn good to me. Pretty cured up. We should be safe. Nice. I'm happy with that. So, I think I'm just going to unmask this thing. In the morning, I'll do the little bit of assembly we need to do on it, and I'll bring you guys back for a look. So it's the next morning here, guys. I am just doing a little bit of assembly. There's not much on this one. So I am actually right now installing a set of mud flaps. Now, I just decided to buy them and put them on because there was zero paint left on the bottom of this truck. It was beat to hell. So a set of mud flaps is always a good idea. They obviously will save the bottom of your truck. But I'm going to give you guys a little tip on these, just from experience. Now, I went down to my local parts store. They didn't have any cheap sets. So I ordered these off Amazon. You see, there's not much to these things. They're very thin, but they're very light. Now, a lot of trucks I work on, they come in with stuff like this on them. Now, you might think you're doing a good thing by having these big, thick mud flaps that are going to stop all the rocks. Well, those do too. These cause a lot of damage. In my experience, most of the trucks that I work on that have these really thick, heavy mud flaps, they're usually half ripped off. They've usually got wood screws and whatever other nonsense guys find in their toolbox holding them on. And, you know, sometimes they've got 16 friggin' screws because, you know, 4 have been ripped out and then 4 more have been ripped out. So, you know, you take those, and then especially once they're actually caked in mud, they get really heavy. So, just my experienced opinion, these are really not very good. They're just too heavy. Yeah. Bolts all rip out. It's common. You catch them on something, they rip the side of your truck off if they don't rip the bolts out. Just use cheap mud flaps. They're just better. Just my opinion. These are like, I mean, they're expensive for 4 little pieces of plastic. They're like $40 on Amazon. So I decided just to put them on. Like I said, customers and old friends, so I want to take care of this for them. But yeah, my tip of the day. See you guys shortly when I am done putting this together. So quick polish on the adjoining panels, something I usually do. Makes it all blend in nicer. I don't know. That light makes terrible filming. You can see how much difference just a quick polish makes. I mean, yeah, I know detailers would be cringing. You need to clay bar that and everything. Which, yeah, but I mean, if it was a proper detail, you would. But I'm just cleaning it up so it all looks nice for the customer when he picks it up. You know, an extra hour labor to kind of buzz everything. It's always worth it for me. So this is my final step, guys, before I finish all the cleanup on a job like this. If you watch my channel, of course you have seen this before, but I like to show it. So this is a pressure pot style undercoating gun. It is filled with secret sauce, which is actually used motor oil. Now, there are probably better products, like if you use something like fluid film, it really sticks, it really stays in there. I use motor oil because I have it, it's free, and I don't charge for it. So, what I'm going to do is soak all the inside of the panels. Now, of course, these rockers were really rusty. But before I put all of these plugs back in, I'm going to hose a bunch of oil into side there. I'm going to try and set up the camera so you can kind of see. Now this thing, it shoots out a big volume of oil. I don't know if you can see that, but it's already pouring out the bottom. It's probably out of camera range. But now, of course, the inside of these panels, you know, we can't clean up the rust that's inside. So obviously you saw how rusty the outside was. I'm sure the inside is even worse. So we're going to soak it all in oil. And that will buy this thing some more time. Because oil doesn't rust. And I am, of course, going to spray the heck out of the inside of those bedsides as well. Messy. Well, I'll get this all sprayed up, let it drip for a bit, get it back inside, get it washed up and ready for the customer. So there we are, guys, all washed up, finished up, ready for the customer once again. So I guess the biggest question in this video is panel bond adhesive or structural adhesive. Is it better than welding? I think they both have pros and cons. I think a definite pro of the panel bond adhesive is if you don't have a welder, you could do this. Obviously you need a lot of tools, you need a place, you need, you know, a lot of supplies to do something like this. But if you're just starting out and you're trying to do this stuff, then it's definitely a good way to go. If you don't have a welder, and if, I mean, honestly, maybe you just have never learned how to weld too, so there's that as well. So that's a pro. I'd say one of the cons, the price of that stuff. So that 3M panel bond, my price on a tube of that, and I used every bit of a tube of that 08115 to do the 2 wheel arches. My cost on that's about 130 bucks. If you are average guy off the street without an account, you know, I spend a lot of money on materials, so I get a pretty good price. But I think you're probably close to $200 for that stuff, so Canadian, of course. But as always, guys, I encourage you to let me know in the comments what you think, if this video was helpful, if it wasn't helpful, if you have some opinions, advice. I mean, you got a better way to do things. I'm always open. And I'm always open as well. I mean, if you guys have questions, you know, hit me up on the comments or on the socials or whatever. I will help you out with your projects if I can. So, as always, thank you for watching. I hope you'll come back and check out the next video.